take a walk with me, not like you used to do. Do something different and put yourself in other people's shoes. Open up your mind and open up your eyes and change your direction, change your perspective.
Welcome into Other People's Shoes. As you know, I am your host, Neil Matthews. Thank you so much for joining me today. Hope you're excited to be here because I'm excited to be here. It's always exciting to be in other people's shoes, isn't it? A little weird, I know, but I do scour eBay daily for some new shoes that I can be in. I don't know if you guys know this, full disclosure. I mean, I feel like season 12 now, we need more disclosure of my life, maybe. I don't know. Here it is. I buy a lot of used shoes. Now, I know some of you are like, oh, that's gross. But hear me, like, they're other people's shoes. So that's my mindset, is I really am doing my very best on a daily, as the kids would say, on the daily, I would say daily basis. But I'm excited about our guest today, and I hope you're excited too, because I hope you packed maybe a winter coat. I know you're going to need a passport. They say a lot, and I guess they're called Canucks, Vancouver, maybe Canucks. There's a orca maybe on their jersey. I'm not really sure, or their sweater. I guess it is. It's hockey. Who knows? I don't know. But help me welcome in my guest, Cindy Ryan. Cindy, how are you today?
Good, thank you. Yes, we say sorry a lot. We're kind. We're all those ridiculous things. Thank you so much for having me here. I will laugh, I think, right away about the shoes. I love it. I have to go immediately to a story of I went on a date a few months ago and I was wearing shoes and my soles fell off while we were walking. I mean, I was so embarrassed that I had him holding the soles of my shoes. And I said, "You're holding my sole in your hand." It was the last date I went on with him.
I don't know why.
But yes.
That's hilarious.
I know. These are the kind of things that happen to me all the time. So that just came into my head.
That gets us right out of the gate. You know, there's a term in sprinting, like you got to get out of the blocks quick. All right. Yeah. That's getting out of the blocks with a little bit of a stumble, I would say. Yeah. But I like it. I do. I like it. That's great. We'll work with that. We can build on that, as they would say in the podcast industry.
That's totally what will happen just to me. But anyway, yes, I'm excited. Loved your idea. As soon as I saw it there, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm happy to share my stories with you.
Well, I appreciate that too. So we'll get to that momentarily. So speaking of shoes, see, great segue. You set us up for that. So how awesome is that? So speaking of said shoes, is there a style of shoe that Cindy absolutely has to have on, and maybe a brand too that she likes? Again, we're always trying to get brand sponsorship, as this show gets bigger. So
okay, well, I am known for my cozy socks. So I have 18 pairs of cozy socks, and I'm known for actually wearing those outdoors, and then with flip-flops or sliders. Not really known for like high heels. I want my feet in comfort. So I will basically wear those cozy socks with sliders and anything that's just going to keep my feet cozy. But yeah, that's kind of my known thing. Anything that's going to keep my feet comfy.
So I'm picturing, help me with this maybe visually, because, we're on audio. So a lot of people, sometimes it doesn't translate, video to audio or vice versa. So I'm picturing like warm, fuzzy socks, maybe with some characters of some sort, or maybe some patterns.
They're like, can you see?
Yeah. Oh yeah. There we go. Those are like mountain socks though. Those are like man socks, but I guess it is Canada.
Socks.
Manada can socks. I just made up a thing. Manada can socks. There we are.
Manada can socks. I like them. And if I have to go outside, I'll just wear some heavy duty sliders right on top of those. I have zero pride when it comes to that.
You've laid that down. That pride has been laid down.
Has been laid.
So BC, though, that's British Columbia, for those that are geographically challenged, Vancouver, and they are the Canucks up there. So I'm not being derogatory, because I've heard sometimes Canadians don't like to be called Canucks. Can you help me with that before we move forward?
I didn't know that. I mean, there's a lot of things right now. We're in transition, right? There's lots of people changing names here. People are being very careful with words and things like that. So that could be truthful. Definitely my child's name at his school was the Dukes, and now he's being called the Wolves. We're just learning different things here. I don't know. I just go with it.
I remember as a kid, not to get too political, but I do remember as a kid watching the Super Bowl. That's the American football, not the Grey Cup, just to clarify.
Yes.
Okay, the Super Bowl. I don't know if you've heard of it in Canada.
I know that.
It's a big thing here in the States, being funny there, of course. But I remember as a kid watching the Washington, and I'm going to say it, that was their name. They were the Redskins.
Mm-hmm.
And now we can't say that word. We can't
Nope.
say Redskins. We can't. Now I guess we can't even say Chiefs or Braves or things like that. And I was a little bit being funny, but kind of serious. I did hear that years ago, that the word Canuck, like calling me a Yankee, it has kind of a negative connotation in some respects. So I just was sort of being funny, but kind of serious because I had heard that. So anyway.
Yes, no, you can't. Yes, definitely. We're being very cautious here on all words.
But we should be cautious on all words. I had a past guest that actually said words mean so much, and we just use words so flippantly. We don't really realize what they mean or what they actually the definition of them are, because we use them in the wrong context. So Cindy, help me with this. You mentioned kind of in your silliness, in our silliness, really, I'm not going to put that all on you. In our silliness, you mentioned that you saw this, you immediately had to respond. Now, what we're referring to is I threw out this proverbial net, on the socials. People dog Facebook and all those social medias, Instagram and all those things, and rightfully so. I mean, they do deserve some blame in our lives of maybe giving us bad perceptions of people, per se. But I will say, you responded and others responded too. This walk away moment. Now, as a creator, I got to be honest, I was blown away because I've thrown out that proverbial net on other seasons and didn't get, quite the response that I got on this. For you, what resonated in your heart? What made you kind of go from, wow, seeing that, okay, I got to respond, getting to the keyboard, or maybe pulling out the keyboard on the phone or having it activated on the phone to respond? What made you do that?
Well, I believe it's all about what we look at in life, right? There's always a duality and positive and negative of things. And I have always looked at social media as a positive. And so therefore, whatever I see in social media has always been positive. And so that's just what I've taken from it. So actually, that was the first day I had joined all of these podcast groups. I've never done it before. I have had my own podcast for, like I said, 2 years, but I was like, I want to lean in and look at things. Suddenly I had literally just joined these groups because I was like, I want to be on more. And I read yours and I was like, that is exactly, it calls to me, because what you had asked for was for people to discuss walk away moments in their lives, or something. I mean, you wrote it much better than what I just said. It called to me because I believe we all have a story. Every single human has a story, and everybody feels that they can connect to somebody else. And sometimes they don't feel that they have the courage to actually walk away from something. And they have this moment in the middle where they're stuck. And can they walk away? Can they do it? There's that time. So hearing people where they are able to go, oh my God, she walked away. Because sometimes you just see them after they've done it. And so you just believe that they've always just been in the after moment where they might be really enjoying the bliss, enjoying this part. You don't hear the mess before. And I want to share the mess, the feeling of how it was where I was in the mess and because there's going to be those points where I want people to understand it hasn't always been bliss. And I know there's going to be more mess ahead for me. I'm okay with the bliss and the mess and the bliss and the mess. So I want to share that with people.
I think you're 100% right, because again, I think we look at that proverbial celebrity or that proverbial music artist or insert name wherever you want, and we think, oh, they've never had a day in their life where it's been bad, where there's been struggle, where there's been adversity, where there's been trial and error, where there's been proverbial staircase where you go up 2 steps and you go back 5. Mm-hmm. You go up 7 one day because you got really ambitious, and then you go back 2 more. And I think so many times, to your point, we see the finished product. We don't see the mess beforehand. So for you, I think it's obvious to maybe ask this. What is the mess? What was that moment you walked away from?
Oh, and like I said to you, I've definitely had a few. But I think, and now when I work with clients, I always say, once you've had one big moment that you've walked away from, it's almost that you can understand how strong you are. So you're able to walk away from more, to walk back to yourself. So the first time was I walked away from a 12-year marriage. That was 10 years ago. And that was the most uncomfortable moment originally for me. But it's not one that we really need to talk too much about today. But I will say that was the scariest and hardest. I had a toddler and a 3-year-old at home. And I fully and still believe that people don't actually have to walk away from marriage. I believe in marriage. I believe in that. that. And so that was very, very hard for me. It took me about 5 years to actually walk away from it. So that was really hard. And we now are really good friends. We are with our children together. We just were not meant to be together. I see people now who stay together because they believe they're supposed to do that for the children. Oh, the agony of that for me nearly killed me. I think that was my first time, but I will say, I remember the day I actually said, I tried so many ways of dancing around that time. Like, maybe we should do this, maybe we should do that, maybe whatever, all these things. And I remember the day I actually said it, like, I want a divorce. And it was like this laughter came up inside of me. I didn't know why, but it was like I was actually speaking for the first time my truth. I was like, oh my God, I'm actually going to be free. And I didn't mean, like, I'm a kind person. I didn't mean to laugh, but I did. And I was like, I realized I was 33 or 34 at the time, that I was actually going to experience life.
I can take you back to 17 for me. I can tell you the day. I can describe the day for you. I can tell you when I walked through the front door. I can tell you right where my mom was. I can tell you where my dad was. I can tell you I went in my room and started packing because my dad told me to pack my stuff. I was moving out with my mom, that him and my mom were separating. I can tell you all of that from a kid's standpoint. I can't tell you what it was like to be my mom.
Mm-hmm.
Can't get in those shoes.
Mm-mm.
I can't get in my dad's shoes to say what it was like for them.
Yes.
I can say my wife and I have been married 21 years. I don't ever want to hear her say that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't ever want to say that.
No, of course.
I've had people come on in past seasons. One lady jumps out at me in particular, Patty Davis.
Mm-hmm.
She had an amazing episode talking about divorce and why she finally had to say, okay, enough's enough.
Yes.
You know, I'm done. Kind of her walk away moment without even knowing it. That was her walk away moment, I'm sure. For you, what led to that? Because I know you didn't wake up in the morning, have your coffee or have your tea, you know, have some maple leaf syrup. What made you finally get to that point to say, because it wasn't, like I said, it wasn't like you woke up that morning and said, yeah, today's the day.
Yeah.
All right, let's seize it.
I think that every situation is different, and you look at it from your perspective of what happened in your family. And I'll say from my child, who we went out for dinner, I'll say this, I will fast forward to 6 years. We all go out to dinner as a family, my children and I, with my ex, I call him my husband. And my oldest said, I don't want to call him my ex. And my oldest said, Mom, would you be the same woman you are today if you'd stayed with him? And my husband said, no, she wouldn't. And he said, I'm glad you left. And my husband said, I'm glad she left too. I look at that and say, if we can all sit together 5 years later and my son can ask that question and my husband can honestly look at me and smile and say that too, I know that it doesn't actually matter to put him under a bus and tell you what happened before, that we all as a family can healthily say that together. And my child can look us in the eye and say that I know I made the right choice.
First off, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I can tell just by your voice. I can tell by your eyes. This is why I do the video, not maybe show the video, because sometimes people get emotional.
Yes.
And that's for me. That's maybe not for everyone else.
Of course.
That's the joy of being the host.
Yes.
There's some privileges I have that a listener doesn't have.
Yes.
But as you're describing that, like, I'm looking into your eyes, and to have your child, like, I'm a person of faith, and out of the mouth of babes, the good book sometimes says, there is wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
That was mind-blowing to me, that a child would make that statement about you. Now, you as a mom, when you hear that, maybe for the first time in that moment, in that restaurant, right? You can't make a scene per se because it's a restaurant and you're Canada, you're all nice and everything. Anyway, not they make scenes because you don't, you're Canada. I know there's got to be something inside of you that felt something.
And I'll go back to, like, I'm jumping all over. It took a long time for me to make that decision. And we didn't do it over one day like you might have been told. I was very determined that as in pain as I was, and again, I don't have to go through all the details, I was going to make sure that it was slow. We stayed in the house even after I said that to my husband, that I wanted my children to slowly, my toddler didn't understand, but my 5-year-old, I was slowly showing him there was going to be change. So even though I'd said this to my husband. I was slowly moving things out so that they would go into what was going to be their dad's apartment, even though he was still living in the house. So I would say to my 5-year-old, look, you can handle change. So I would be saying like, we're gonna move this room around, and we would move a couch out, even though their dad was staying in the house, and we were going to counseling for us to understand that this was happening. And so for about 10 months, we were understanding what was going to happen. And so then my oldest would be seeing like, okay, yeah, we're moving things out of this place. I was packing dishes so that those dishes would go to that apartment. So he would see that there would be dishes in this house and dishes in another house. He didn't know yet what was happening, but I was slowly packing so that the houses would be the same. And they would go down into the basement, and I would pack this for so I didn't do anything so that it was too rushed. And I remember we went on a family walk the day that we were going to tell our children. My youngest was still in a crib and went to sleep. And when we went to tell, we told our children, my oldest, together, and we sat on a couch. We sat together, and the counselor had said, if you cry together, you cry together. If you need to hold hands while you tell your child, you hold hands, but you're showing your child that you're in this together. And we brought books, and we did it in a way to show that we were together for the child. And this was not his mistake, that we were doing this because we loved him, but that we could not be healthy in this home. And we wanted him to be healthy and to see that love was healthy. We sat down, and we just said there were going to be 2 homes, that we were still going to do family gatherings together. We took them to Disneyland together after, because we did not want society to tell us what a family was. We were going to choose what a family was. He just said, can I still have my shorts in both houses? Can I have my pants in both houses? So we said, you know what? We'll buy you 2 pairs of those shorts. We will buy you 2 pairs of whatever, so that you don't ever have to feel like you don't have those things that you have to come back and forth. So for the next few years, you don't have to feel that way. We will rearrange our lives, so you don't have to feel put out. We did this, not you. And then he looked at me and said, will you stop crying now? He was 5. And I said, yes. And he said, well, then this is good. You're just not in love. It's enough.
I'd like to meet that little 5-year-old little guy. He's probably not 5 anymore, but
he's 15 now.
He's probably a monster then. Just kidding. No, I'm just playing. I have a 15-year-old and they're monsters. So
yes.
That's why I'm saying that. Oh, man. Cindy, thank you. Mm-hmm. Thank you so much for sharing that. That's tough. I think there's so much wisdom in what you guys walk through. And by the way, I like husband. I really do. I know you said it a couple of times, and maybe that didn't come through in your Canadian draw, but it's was been. It's not ex-husband. It's was.
Yes.
He was your husband. So wasband. I've never heard that. That's a first. I like wasband.
Yeah.
It sounds like a wuzzle. You can Google that later, what wuzzles are. Cartoon from the 80s. Wait, hold on a second. We got to go back to this. Disneyland. They have Disneyland in Canada?
No, we went to Disneyland.
Oh, in the States.
In the States, yeah. Again, it was the things like, okay, you both want to go see your kids. You want to see your kids for the first time enjoying something. And so you see people who are like, well, we're divorced. And so it was like, and it's the same, like we did every Christmas morning together. I hear people all the time, like he gets Christmas morning and I get Christmas Eve. And we were like, no, you just come over and our kids get Christmas morning together. Why would you make the kids have to go to one house and the other? No, he just comes here for Christmas morning. Like
I can tell you why. I'm not a doctor. I don't have letters in front of my name. And as far as I know, you don't either, right?
No.
We maybe missed that in research. But I think the reason why is people are selfish. Mm-hmm. People don't know how to share.
Yes.
We suck at sharing.
Yes.
And we don't want to share. We want it all for ourselves. I think that's very noble of you both. Yeah, I give kudos to your husband. Mm-hmm. We'll call him Zach because we don't have to say his name, which is fine. Zach is his name now. Zach.
I like Zach. Zach's good.
With a K. Zach with a K.
Yes.
You and Zach made a choice to say, we're not going to be selfish.
Mm-hmm.
From what you're describing. We're not going to make this about us. We're going to make this 100% about our kiddos.
Yes.
And I think that is so powerful. And I think hopefully, now that 10 years has passed, your kids have seen that. They've seen you walk that out.
Yes.
Yes, that walk away moment was very traumatic. I can tell by your tears. I can tell by how you were choked up, kind of walking back through that moment. lesson that you taught them, I think could have years and years and years and years of a ripple effect.
Yes.
So here's my question. With your expertise and your ability to help others, has your heart been healed by anything spiritual, or has your heart been mended by anything? Because again, a 10-year marriage, I mean, it's a long time.
Yeah.
How did you heal from that process?
He was my first boyfriend. Sort of an interesting thing. There's been two paths that went from there. Had never kissed, never dated anyone. So that was an interesting thing for me to have to go out there and realize, like, I don't even know what the dating world is like. Like, I don't understand this. Like, you guys, this is really strange. So that was the one path that I've had to really experience, is starting to date at 34. Then I realized that I was a psychic medium and became a Reiki master, and really honing that in for myself. I grew up religious, still am, and welcoming that all in for myself and what that meant. I did get a serious hit on the head with a concussion with young children, was not able to move, not able to do anything. And that's where I went and discovered Reiki, which was energy healing because I was like, I just need something. Through that, got training, then was doing it for other people. It's a beautiful practice, but also then realized, wow, this feeling of being empathetic, this feeling my whole life was actually what my gift is that I'm supposed to do. So then started realizing I can do this for other people. I had this whole thing of psychic medium being like, oh, I'm going to the way I believed it as a child, but that's not it. I then began to open that whole side for myself. So now I do this worldwide, started that practice to work with people and do intuitive guidance and energy healing for people. So I'd kind of opened these two doorways for myself. So the other walk away moment began, one, saying I'm a psychic medium, which is a really, really scary thing to actually say out loud, especially with my parents, which now have welcomed this in. And then to leave a 17-year career, which I have had with a pension, with 2 children and a mortgage, was to actually trust that I can have this gift, which I had been doing at night, and to finally say, I can't work 2 jobs. And I was able to just say, actually, I can do this. And I was able to leave my career, scary as hell, and it's worked.
You know, I was telling you kind of pre-show, we've had a lot of guests over the last 3 years.
Yeah.
3/4 years, almost 4. We're just going to start saying 4 because
Yes,
we're almost there. We're almost there. We're almost 4 years old. As far as I know, I put research on it because I knew you were coming on.
Yeah.
I don't think we've had a psychic medium yet. I tried. Years ago, when I first started, I actually wanted to get a psychic medium to come on, which some of my evangelical Christian friends are like, what are you doing? My mother-in-law is probably freaking out right now. She's hearing this, but it's okay.
Yeah.
From the freak out standpoint, because we want to be in other people's shoes.
Of course.
But I say that because I don't understand how that works. I don't understand. I mean, like I said, I was joking with you when we were kind of corresponding. I like Reiki music. My friends tease me about my love affair with spa music. Like, I'll put it on in the car when I'm driving and I'm, running late and I need to calm down before I get to work.
Of course. That's what it does.
And it does do that for me. So help me with understanding both.
Okay.
Is it like salt and pepper in some respect? Do they belong at the same table together? I don't even know.
Yes.
Help me with that.
And I completely understand. I work with people who are very religious. It's an interesting thing. We grew up with this idea that that person is a witch or something. And I question it and say, I understand it, that means, this person is evil or something. And I say, can't we dance together? I work with people all day long in order to support them to see light and love. That's all I do. I am here to give you the ability to see the power that you have within you. I never want to take that away from you, in a way for you to see a capacity of your life to see light, love, and grow, which I believe all religions are trying to do too. I never want you to feel that there's a thumb on you, whatever, and also to understand the shadows of yourself to help you to grow further. So if you're using drugs or alcohol or something like that, I want to give you tools for you to see how you can perhaps live without it. That's the sort of thing so when somebody's like, oh my God, don't have her on, I'm like, well, what? I want to give you light and love. I don't understand.
Nobody said we can't have Cindy on.
Yeah.
Just for the record.
No,
Nobody
no,
said.
not
Okay.
you, but I just,
all right.
so,
I just want to be clarifying to you. Nobody Somebody has said
No.
to me.
When it started for me, energy healing is basically we have this physical body, our physical body, and then we have this subtle energy within us. You feel it probably when you go in a room or when you're at work and you're around somebody and you're kind of like, ugh, I get a weird feeling around a person. That's the subtle energy of all of us. Or when you're like, I felt really good and suddenly I feel heavy. Those are all of our subtle energies within us. The subtle energies that we bring, the subtle energies, even how you reacted, like that visceral reaction you had when I said divorce, that comes from the subtle energy that you have from your own feelings. They're not bad or wrong. That's your own stuff within you. It's healthy. It's fine. It's the things that you have for yourself. Talking about them is really important. And so we have from our root all the way up to our crown, we have these 7 chakras all within us. So even you going like, I know that if I listen to this music, it actually helps me to calm this subtle energy within me. It's really, really good. So being attuned as now a Reiki master, it means I've gone through all the levels. I can help other people to teach them this and I can attune them, but I also can do energy healings for people. And I now do group energy healings with people all around the world. They don't have to be in one space and they actually can process this with me. It's beautiful work. What also I can do, which I always wish I could explain it, is I guess it started with that I can write down somebody's name. I get into a meditative state. This is what I do every day. And I usually just if you wanted a session, I'd write Neil. I get into a meditative state. I start to write down information. I might be like, okay, there's 2 dogs. There's this, there's that. Oh, you want to process this? Okay. You come in and then I say, this is what I picked up. There's something on your left side. You want to talk about this. And then we sit and talk about what is the information that I picked up. And then you would start, and then we would just have an hour conversation. And then people are like, oh my God, how did she know about the 2 dogs or whatever it might be? And then we just chat, and that's the intuitive guidance.
All right. So I don't know if it made it up to Canada or not, but there's this really amazing show that I watched as an adult.
Yes.
It's called The Mentalist. Simon Baker, he's a mentalist.
Mm-hmm.
And really he's not. He's just really intuitive to people. He can kind of read the room, read the person, he picks up on things that most people don't pick up on.
Subtle energy. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if it's subtle energy or not. I think he's just really perceptive.
Yes.
And so he's solving crimes for this FBI step below called CBI. They're called California Bureau of Investigation.
Okay,
anyway,
yeah.
The whole premise of the show is his wife and daughter are killed by a serial killer, Red John. And so he's on the hunt the whole show.
For them.
The whole series for this killer, Red John. This guy's taunting him the whole time throughout the show. It's kind of woven into the show. I say that because in the show they come across psychic mediums. They come across people who claim to have this amazing gift to see things that aren't there.
Right.
And he makes fun of them. And he makes them look like fools because he's more perceptive than they are. And they're like, see, you have the gift. And he's like, no, I just basically tore off
veil.
How do I know that you're not just doing like Google searches on me, stalking my Facebook, stalking my Instagram? I mean, looking behind me going, gee, I wonder if Neil's a North Carolina fan. I wonder if he's obsessed with shoes. You know, things that most people would already know about me.
100%. And I would agree. I'd be similar to him. When I say a psychic medium, because people will say, I want all your information. I want to know the future. And I'm like, I'm not the one who's going to tell you your future. Forget it. And I also, like I was saying this to a woman the other day, she's like, this guy told me all this stuff. And I'm like, well, I would question why he's telling you all that stuff. Because 1, it takes your power away from you. I also say, because this has been my thing from the very, very beginning. I say, I just want your first name. So if somebody, and it was a challenge, even when I got my website, I was like, well, then people can book and I'll know their last name. I don't want to know anything about them. And so because people will say, well, then she can look me up. So, cause I'm like, I just want your first name so that then so people will start talking to me and I'm like, don't tell me anything. And so, cause I don't want to know, but I also don't want to give you too much information because if I give you information, you've lost power for yourself. Cause people will be like, well, do you think I should get this job? Do you think I should do that? I'm like, if I tell you anything, your will to, like, if you said, Neil, like, okay, like, do you think I should go for this job or this job? How do you think I'm feeling? Then suddenly you'll be like, oh my God, Cindy said that I'm going to get this job in 3 months. Then think about how you will actually view your next 3 months of your life. Like, I've taken your power away. Like, and I don't like that. So I always look at it. How are you feeling for yourself in these 3 months? Like, what do you need for you for the next 3 months so that you make the best decision for yourself, for you to decide? Some people hate me for asking those questions, but that's why I say it's intuitive guidance. I want you to feel the strongest so you can make your decision.
I think the reason why people want you to make their decision is they're stinking lazy.
I know, yeah.
And it's easy to blame Cindy in Canada than it is to be like, no, I got to take some ownership for myself.
Well, there's every once in a while, something will, like, I'll be like, there's something about, I'll be like, oh my gosh, there's this dog, there's this. And people will be like, oh my God. Other than that, I'm like, I'm backing out. I'm not gonna, like you are, or I'll get a message, which this might creep you out, but I will get a message from your past relative where I'll be like, they've crossed over. They want to know why you buried them in red underwear versus black. And people will be like, oh my God, how did she know that? I don't know how that comes through. It just does. So that's the kind of stuff. But other than that.
So no lotto numbers or nothing like that. All right. Just checking. I just needed some podcast funding. I just, just asking for a friend.
Yeah.
How can someone get in touch with you? How can someone, find out more about what you're about, and where's the best place to do that?
Yes, so they can find me at www.blissfulintuitive.com or at blissfulintuitive. I try to make it intuitive.
They can get in touch with you there, and they can find out about sessions and pricing and all that stuff.
All my services are there. Everything's all detailed. I have a monthly membership for people. Just look, it's really very low price, tons of stuff for all ranges of prices, 15-minute chats if people just want. There's some meditations there. There's some meditations there if you want them, all for free. So lots of things.
At the end of our show, it's called Senseless. Now, I know being a Reiki healing and intuitive as you are, you know that we have, I think, 5 senses. Did that get up to Canada that we have 5 or
sense, yeah.
All right, just checking. So we play 5 senses down here in the States, and then 6th is a wild card. I know you're not a big sports person, but this is North Carolina. If you were going to send your boys to school, this would be a great school to send them to in the States. All right, it's in Chapel Hill, so it's a little ways from Vancouver. I know, Mom, deep breath there. I felt it. So I'm going to roll. I'm going to tease you a little bit here. Use your intuitive thinking here. What number do you think you got? Let's see if you're right.
4.
You are not very intuitive. Just kidding. Where's number 1? Sorry, I changed it on you. Number 1. So number 1 is this, which is kind of appropriate. So maybe this is where the intuitive part comes in, because when you hear this question, think about how intuitive this is considering everything we just talked about. You ready?
Yeah.
All right, here it is. Question number 1 for Senseless is this. What is something you have seen with your eyes, or maybe your, meditative eyes, we'll say. And what have you seen that made you laugh, smile, and cry? Something that you've seen that made you laugh, smile, and cry.
Today?
Just in general, whatever. I mean, if it's today or whenever, yeah.
My children.
Okay, how so?
Oh, because everything they do, they're filled with joy. They're amazing. And then they also just don't put their stuff away, which makes me cry all the time. Like there's garbage everywhere. So I'm like, I love you so much. You're so amazing. But then, oh my God, why are you such a mess?
I'll give you my wife's number. She might live with somebody that's very similar. Just saying. Again, saying for a friend. I've heard my friends say that about, anyway.
So I can be filled with happiness, and then I can turn and be like, oh my God.
All right, guys and gals, kids and campers alike, that is our show today. I don't know about anybody else. Listen, we talked about some stuff that I know is probably a little off the beaten path for us. Let's be honest. But here's where I'm at. When I started the show almost 4 years ago, my brother-in-law told me this amazing advice, and he was a sponsor for a little while in our earlier seasons. He said, listen, you can't have people come on and just think like you think. You can't have people come on and have had the same experiences that you've had. You can't, because then you're defeating what you're after. My goal when I started has always been, we're in other people's shoes. Or in this case, we're in other people's fuzzy, fluffy, warm man socks with sliders. Now listen, do I agree with everything she says? Probably not. But do I agree with her heart? Did I hear a heart of a mom? Did I hear a broken heart of a wife? Did I hear somebody that said, you know what? I found some healing. Did I hear that? I did. Hopefully you did as well. And as we go today, I want to challenge you in this respect. I want to challenge you from a standpoint of saying, listen to someone this week. Go find that friend out there. Have a conversation with them. Ask them about maybe their walk away moment. Have a cup of coffee, have a cup of tea with somebody and say, listen, I care enough about you that I know you've been struggling with this maybe walk away moment. I'm ready to hear it. I'm ready to really listen, because there's so much power in just listening sometimes. So let that be our challenge this week. And again, if you do so, let me know. opspodcast.com. Of course, would love to hear you there. Leave a comment, leave a voicemail if you desire to do that. You can reach out to us on our social medias, of course, OPS Podcast Show on our Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And don't forget, don't ever, ever, ever forget. Remember, when you walk in other people's shoes, you really do get a different perspective on life. Thank you so much for listening, and stay tuned until next week when we walk in other people's shoes.